Well, yeah, that was fun.
You are Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Oregon Ducks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is that time once again for a reaction episode of Locked On Ducks. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view post-Washington viewing. It was kind of what we were looking for. This is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day and your number one source to stay up to date with the Ducks. This episode brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. They've still got tickets available for pretty reasonable prices, I will say, for the Big Ten championship game where Oregon's going to face Ohio State. Nope, they're facing Penn State instead. I have thoughts on that. Let's call that segment 2. Segment 1, Oregon fans really wanted to see this from Dan Lanning. They wanted to see Dante Moore in the game leading a touchdown drive. Talking about that more next week. Believe you me. Believe me you, believe you me. I don't know. English, whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. As I'm recording the show, by the way, Oregon basketball is battling Alabama. We'll see what happens. That'll be in the third segment. But this game against Washington was a palate cleanser. It was a sigh of relief. It was okay, that's what we were looking for from a lot of Oregon fans. Now, this game nationally didn't have huge ramifications, but to Oregon fans, it meant a lot. And it wasn't just going to be a win that was enough for Dan Lanning in this game. They needed to do exactly that. 49-21. 49-21, that's the sort of score I thought it would be closer. Because frankly, I thought Washington's defense was better than that. But I am ecstatic with how this Oregon offense played. Absolutely, positively thrilled. Because that's a Washington defense that was also coming off a bye. So was the Oregon offense, right? If you see me glancing down, it's because I'm watching the Oregon basketball game. But I am just so happy with the way that offense played. It wasn't always perfect. It took a little while to get going. And then it looked like they were feeding off the defense, which was amazing. And they were feeding off of the home crowd. And guys like Jeff Bossa and Bryce Betcher, who were playing Washington for the last time, they wanted that game to look like that, and it did. That was the exact outcome I was hoping to see. It's not the one I predicted. It was even better than I had predicted. I had 30-13. I'm usually within one score on at least one team in my predictions, and, Oregon just had other ideas offensively in the best way possible. Let's go to the defensive line and some big plays. And the defensive line, I think, had the play or the sequence of the game. So Oregon goes up 28-6. The offense starts catching fire. Washington hasn't scored a touchdown yet. After the Noah Whittington fumble, defense holds to a field goal. Big moment in the game. After Washington went down the field and scored a touchdown and got the 2-point conversion, I told you going into this game, Denzel Boston's a heck of a wide receiver. We're going to see that guy again next year in Seattle. He's really good. He's really good. I thought the quarterback, Damon Williams, did some good things. He was harassed all night. He should get a restraining order against the Oregon defensive line because they were up in his grill, whether he liked it or not, all game long. So they get that momentum going into the half, and it went from, hey, let's run up the score to, crap, Washington's getting the ball. This could be a losable game if they go down and score. And then there's a penalty on the kickoff, and then they get a couple first downs, and then the defense says, nope, no more. No more. They put their foot down and said, you shall not pass Gandalf style. The sacks, the TFLs were racked up all night. 10 sacks, I believe, ties an Oregon record for a single game. This is a defense. I mean, it didn't have these guys exactly, but this is a team that 2 years ago had 18 sacks all year. It was a historically bad season rushing the passer. Look at what Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupoy have done in 2 years with a blend of high school and portal guys. Jordan Birch was back, made an impact. Mateo is awesome. Derek Harmon, beast. Jamari Caldwell, a force again. Like, those guys just keep playing at a really high level, and I love seeing that. So Washington gets the ball coming out of the half. They go down the field. They don't just stop them once they get on the other side of midfield. They move them back and out of field goal range. And that propelled the offense to then get the ball, go down the field, and then the game was over. That was such a great thing to see. Because you know what? Damon Williams, tough guy to defend when you don't have a ton of film. I thought they did a really good job. Williams ended this game with, 201 yards passing. Like, give him credit. He was 17 of 20 throwing the ball. That's the most efficient anyone, including Will Howard. More on that later. That's the most efficient anyone has been throwing the football, completions and attempts in this game. And Oregon, actually, one of my keys going in was to force turnovers. They forced one, but lost one on the other side, even in turnovers. That was certainly a big moment of the game. The Jonah Coleman fumble, that helped get things really rolling and opened it up there in the first half. But Washington ran for 43 yards in this game. What was my first key to the game? Take away Jonah Coleman, 11 carries for 3 yards. It was complete and utter dominance by the offensive line. And Damon Williams ended up having 17 yards rushing total, but that factors in sack yards. There were 10 of them. 10 sacks. 10 sacks. I mean, that's an ungodly number. That's something you do against an FCS opponent or a low-level group of five, not against a Big Ten foe. But one show I did last week, let me pull up the exact title, wait for it, was Oregon's defensive line can dominate Washington. Well, fact check, 100% true. That was complete and utter dominance. So once that all got going, the game was over. And Oregon has completed for just the second time ever and the first time in 14 years a 12-0 regular season. And if you'll give me 5 seconds to toot my own horn, in the last 2 years on this show, picking Oregon games straight up, I am, 14 last year, 25-1. That's not bad. Not against the spread. That would be otherworldly, and my head would be so inflated, the ego wouldn't allow it to fit on the screen. But alas, it does. So we haven't gotten there quite yet. But this is an awesome accomplishment and an exclamation point. And you know what? I was waiting to see that version of Oregon. Wasn't perfect for all 4 quarters, never is in a rivalry game. Go ask Ohio State what happens when you let an outmatched rival hang around. You could, embarrass yourself, because that's what Ohio State did. Oregon embarrassed Washington. Those are the 2 different ways that a couple of national title contenders played during rivalry week. Oregon was back to, they're just better, and there's nothing you can do about it. And Ohio State was, they're trending down and now await their playoff fate in a couple weeks after the championship games play out. They'll be in, because that's what we've decided in the 12-team format, that lose a couple times, that's okay. And you know what? There'll be a year where that benefits Oregon, but that's not this year, because Oregon's 12-0, so that means they will be the 1 seed if they win the Big Ten championship game, and they will be the 5 seed if they lose the Big Ten championship game against Penn State next week. Notre Dame won. They're in the playoff. They'll be a highly ranked non-bye team because they don't have a conference championship, and the byes are awarded to the 4 highest ranked conference champions. But 1 seed, 5 seed, I feel pretty confident that Oregon, with the schedule they've put together, number one, they haven't lost, and Notre Dame lost to NIU. They're 11-1, so they'll be in the playoff, of course. But number 2, Oregon at 12-1, that's going to put you in the 1 or the 5 seed. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But Oregon fans needed that one. Oregon fans absolutely needed it, and they got it. They absolutely got it. And to all the Washington fans out there who routinely attack you or me or anyone else about celebrating off-season victories, I wonder what you have to say about this football game. I'll throw that out there and close the first segment with that. In segment number 2, I thought it'd be a rematch. It's not going to be a rematch. I'll be there anyway, but it's not going. I have so many thoughts on Ryan Day and Ohio State coming up next. After we talk about Game Time, which has Game Time picks, so that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Do you want to go to the Big Ten championship game? You can get tickets for under $170 total. And you get that total up front when you toggle the all-in pricing feature that Game Time has. They're not trying to hit you with the sneak attack. They're just trying to give you the best ticketing experience, and that's what they provide. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you're looking for, they've got it. And in addition to all-in pricing, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Do you know what time it is? It's game time. Okay, so in the first half, when Washington was doing a little bit of hanging around, I wasn't nervous. Oregon could lose the game. Oregon could do this. But I didn't have that sense of the game is over now. And I was waiting for that to arrive. And as the game progressed, that feeling continued to flow throughout my veins because it became very clear, all right, the game is over. Oregon is significantly better. I did think at halftime, I had the thought of, I don't know if Washington's scoring in the second half, and they scored in garbage time. Congratulations. Final score is 49-21. Well, that's about how the game played out. So I was watching the Ohio State game in complete and utter shock. I cannot believe that Ryan Day and Ohio State lost that football game. Here's the crazy thing. Ryan Day still is going to be able to win the national championship. Spencer, why are you opposed to a 12-team playoff? That right there, that game. That should eliminate Ohio State from the national championship conversation. Instead, it's just a thorn in their side from Michigan that they take again. Ohio State is going to be a lock to the playoff because they've got a road win against Penn State and a dominant win against Indiana. They are still making the playoff, and they deserve to in the 12-team format. So Oregon could wind up facing them again. But I cannot believe they lost to that Michigan team. Davis Warren with one of the worst throws. I can hit the wrong button in EA College Football 25 and make better throws than that interception he threw on the 1 yard line. I can't explain what that was because that was so bad. And then Michigan won the game. Once again, the team that ran the ball for more yards won the football game. Funny how that works. I, for one, was perplexed at Will Howard's poor decision-making and their inability to throw the football. And as the game went along, a couple of things became very clear. Number one, Michigan is an improved football team, and Oregon should feel even better about winning 38-17 at the Big House. That's not a landmark win, but it certainly looks a lot better. Michigan has played well in the last couple of weeks. They throttled Northwestern. They beat Ohio State on the road. Oregon went to the Big House and won by 21. Pretty darn good. That's what this Oregon team's capable of. Second thing, I wasn't pulling for Ohio State to pull it out. I didn't really care at that point because what I saw was an Ohio State team who, amidst reshuffling for injuries along their offensive line, was really struggling with that Michigan front four. And I saw that and thought, they couldn't run the ball against Oregon with a healthier offensive line. How are they going to do that with this group? The Michigan D-line might be the best in all of college football. Where's Oregon rank? Second? Third? I don't know. It's probably Oregon, Michigan, Texas as the best offensive lines in the country. Like, those units all season long have been so good. And you watch that Texas defense, by the way, keep Texas A&M off the scoreboard. Why? Because their defensive line's really good. The only touchdown the Aggies scored in that game was a defensive touchdown. They picked off Quinn Ewers, and Texas won the game 17-7. So that was the thought I had throughout the game. Then as it progressed and Michigan won, I just kept going into disbelief. I could not, I still cannot, I will not be able to believe that is a 20.5 point favorite. I can understand Michigan making it closer than most expected. I cannot fathom how Ohio State managed to lose that game. The answer is the offensive line injuries played a factor, and Will Howard didn't show up. Coming into the season, I talked plenty about Dylan Gabriel and where he fit amongst Big Ten quarterbacks. And one distinction I made when going through the lineup of guys in this conference that Oregon is, of course, new to and will have a chance to win in its first season was I don't think Dillon Gabriel is going to win the Heisman. He's not. I did, however, feel better about having him than any other quarterback in the Big Ten. And that was absolutely obvious on Saturday. Will Howard has done some great things this year, but boy, was he bad. The interception he threw, it's a freshman mistake. He's been really good, but he's also had some really low moments. And Dillon Gabriel's had low moments, and they found a way to win anyway. So I come back to my take from Monday's show, which is there is nobody in college football that I don't think Oregon can beat. Saw them beat Ohio State. I think they could beat them again. Before the season, by the way. I had Ohio State as the Big Ten champ. I thought Oregon would win in Eugene, and I thought Ohio State would win the rematch. We're not going to see the rematch, at least not until the playoff. But the injuries to the offensive line and the way Will Howard has played in the last few weeks, it hasn't been overly impressive. He's had moments and flashes, but Gabriel has sustained a higher level of play throughout the year. And having the best quarterback in the conference, it turns out that matters. And the Oklahoma fans who were chirping at me about how much we wouldn't like Dillon Gabriel this year, they've been really quiet. They've been really, really quiet. Gabriel didn't do anything special in this game, except for a handful of throws. The long play to Trayshawn Holden, great throw. The touchdown to Tez Johnson, that's an awesome throw. The offside dart down the field to T. Ferg, needle down the field. Did a lot of good things. His numbers aren't anything special. 16 to 23, 209, 2 touchdowns. Sometimes that's all you need when you can finally run the ball. So Oregon's not playing Ohio State. Oregon will play Penn State. I don't think I have that big of a different feeling with this version of Ohio State. Penn State has a much lower has a much lower ceiling than Ohio State, but their floor is clearly the same. Because Ohio State went to Penn State and they were the better team. They ended up winning the football game. They could have won by more. Like Ohio State was just better. That's Ohio State playing closer to its ceiling. Now, Penn State is still a good team. Oregon can't just show up, play a B- game, and win by 15 to 20 points. That's not going to happen. But what's different about playing Penn State versus Ohio State, the ceiling isn't the same. Ohio State's ceiling, winning the national championship with that roster. Their floor, apparently, losing to Michigan. Penn State's floor, in that same sort of vein. But their ceiling, I don't think Penn State's a national championship team. So if you ask me going into Saturday, before the game started, would you rather play Penn State or Ohio State? I'd rather play Penn State. I would. I think that's a game that Oregon has a better chance to win than Ohio State. But it all depends on how you play in a particular game. Like, if you want to, here's a fun transitive Big Ten property thing to think about. So, Washington beat Michigan. Michigan had started to play better, but Washington beat Michigan. They were at home, but they beat them. Michigan beats Ohio State. Ohio State beats Penn State. Washington loses to Penn State 35-6. You can't always rationalize that. So the overall capability of Penn State, I don't think is as high as Ohio State. Is it good enough to beat Oregon on a good day? Yes, absolutely. But what we have seen throughout the year, when Oregon plays well, when they don't make mistakes, when they play clean football and the defense gets cooking, they're the best team in the country. They are going to be number one in all the land going into the Big Ten championship game. There's no reason they can't win it. All the pieces are there. It's all right there. So those be my thoughts on the game so far. There will be more on Monday. For the third segment of today's show, I will be honest with you. As I'm recording right now, game is still going. So I'm going to hit pause. I'm going to do a live read. Then I'm going to come back. And by that time, the Oregon basketball game will have been over. This could be one of the best days ever. So you'll just have to find out. It's coming up next. First, let's talk about FanDuel. Now that college football's passed, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers commit $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can view the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Good money this year could have been made by betting against my Oregon score point spreads. I haven't totaled it up. I think I'm a little under 500 there. Not dramatically, but a little bit. But if you think you can do better, by all means, FanDuel.com is the place to go. 150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I told you. I told you before the season that I loved this Oregon men's basketball team. Well, they just beat number 9 Alabama after beating San Diego State and beating number 23 Texas A&M. Come Monday, Oregon is going to have the number 1 ranked football team in the country and a top 10 men's basketball team. I don't know the last time that happened. I really don't. Dana hasn't had Oregon in the top 10 in quite a while. Do you think that guy still wants to coach? You think he still wants to do? This was phenomenal. This is a phenomenal day. This is one of the best regular season days in Oregon sports recent memory for me. This was exceptionally good. So last year, when assessing Oregon basketball's offseason, I liked some of the things they did. Shellstad back, Evans back. You knew Biddle would be back. Bartholomew coming back. Keyshawn Bartholomew, player of the game, he had 21 points. And the best missed shot you'll ever see. I'll get to that in a second. Bartholomew back. They go get Brandon Angel. They get Raheem Moss. And I'm feeling good. They snagged Jamari Phillips, a freshman, flipped him from Arizona. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm down with all of that. Add Supreme Cook, front court depth. Absolutely loved it. If you go back and find the episode, I'm not expecting you to, but I remember how I was feeling. When Oregon added TJ Bamba, at that point in time, I thought they were done with their roster. I thought it was set. I thought it was complete. But when they went and got Bamba, that told me, oh, wait a minute. Dana knows what this squad can be. And this squad is in November showing you what they can be. I have been singing this tune for months. And I didn't expect to see it until late January, maybe February, or certainly March. That's when Dana's teams have been at their best. But they're playing great basketball right here, right now. There was a questionable goaltending call in this game. I don't think there was enough evidence to overturn it. I don't think it was a goaltend. Oregon got a break in the officiating department. Guess what? The committee's not thinking about that. Oregon just built an at-large resume in a week. In a week. They could go 500 in Big Ten play because there are plenty of good teams in there and they could be an at-large team. You just beat number 9 Alabama, San Diego State, who's going to be a tournament team again, and Texas A&M, who was ranked 23rd. You just picked up 3 quad 1 wins and a top 10 victory in a week. What a time in Las Vegas. You talk about playing your hand perfectly. Dana Altman has been flawless this week. Absolutely, positively flawless. His rotations and getting the ball to the right guys in the right spot, it's been awesome. Absolutely awesome. So Oregon wins this game by 2. They tried to choke it away. They really did. The goaltending call stood. They led by 2. Keyshawn Bartholomew, buttery floater, Oregon by 4. Bama comes down, misses, foul, Bartholomew, 2 free throws, Oregon by 6. Less than 30 seconds to go in the game. Horrible defense. Give up an easy transition 3. Bama can shoot threes. I tell you what, that's a dangerous team in March. Dangerous team in March. That's why they were in the Final Four a year ago. They can really shoot the basketball. And Nate Oates is a good coach. But they hit a 3. Oregon then comes out and turns the ball over. Brandon Angel, not strong enough with it. Then he commits a foul. He fouls out of the game. Not a good day for Brandon Angel. That's why Oregon's got depth. A lot of depth on this team. Last year at the end of the season, it was a shallow rotation. It was Kuznard and Dante, and that was 70% of your scoring. Not the case with this team. Bartholomew can have a big game. Biddle can have a big game. I'm still waiting for Shellstad to pop off and really find his rhythm. But Bamba can score. This is a phenomenally deep Oregon team. Biddle had 19 to go with 9 rebounds. Barthélemy had 22 off the bench. Supreme Cook had 11. Again, depth, keeping guys healthy and getting production from more than just a couple of players. Ducks didn't shoot the ball well, 5 of 17 from 3. Biddle 0 for 5. He hasn't found his three-point stroke. Bam Tracy 0 for 3. Shellstad was 0 for 1. He had just 6 points on 3 and 9 shooting. But this is a team. This is not a couple of guys. This is a team. So Oregon turns the ball over and then puts Bam on the free throw line and then fails to get a defensive rebound, fouls Bama again. They tie the game with 20 seconds left. And I'm going, they just Reggie Millered us. It was 6 points in 5 seconds. You've got to be kidding me. It was 81-75 with less than 35 seconds to go. All of a sudden, it was 81-81. And you're going, oh my gosh, this is terrible. But then, what do? Ride the hot hands. Biddle, Barthélemy, get him looks. Barthélemy comes down, he drives, everybody collapses. He has an open lane, but it's a tough floater. He gets it off the window, it caroms off the cylinder, and Nate Biddle crashes the glass, throws it down. Then Oregon needs one stop. Bama drives, Sears drops it off. Guy got the layup in, but after the timer, game over, 83-81, Oregon wins. Just an incredible game that had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of ebbs and flows. Dana Altman not going to like that Bama made 12 threes in the game and put up 81 points. But you know what? That's another thing I like about this team. They've got depth. They've got shooting. They can win in more than one way. They can attack you inside. They can attack you outside. They can go mid-range. They can go with threes. They can go in the paint. They can win with defense. The 3 wins they just compiled this week are phenomenally impressive. I came into the season saying Oregon can win the national championship in football, and I give an 80% likelihood on the same scale of evaluating Oregon football's title chances to this basketball team, and we're seeing the potential. Now, plenty of teams peak too early. Hope that Oregon's not doing that. I still see ways where they can improve. Gosh almighty, if Oregon could hit some open threes every now and then, feels like they go through long stretches where they don't hit shots from outside at all. And good shooters, capable shooters, just aren't hitting their shots from beyond the arc. But everybody embraces their role, and everybody plays a really good brand of team basketball. I think the offensive movement is better than it's been in the couple of years leading into last season, and really for the first half of last year. And I just feel like there are a lot of weapons. There are a lot of options. And the offensive capability is there. The defensive capability is there. KJ Evans coming off the bench is a ridiculous luxury. Ridiculous luxury. His offensive game not taking the step forward I was hoping it would, mostly because Brandon Angel's better at that end. But when you want a defensive stop, you put in KJ Evans. And the second unit for Oregon in this game, Evans and Barthélemy and Moss and Cook, they played awesome and gave Oregon an ability to rest their starter and gave them positive minutes. Like, this was a great performance. Oregon basketball, men's basketball and football are combined 20-0. 20-0 right now. Why didn't you figure out the last time that happened? I don't think Oregon basketball was 8-0 in 2010. This might be the first time it's ever happened. So at the moment, for diehard Oregon sports fans out there like myself, this is a cloud 9 situation. Basketball's got a lot of season left. Literally could not be off to a better start. Big Ten championship game on Saturday against Penn State. And that dance we've been doing for the last couple of seasons where Oregon hoops is, are they going to make the tournament? They're not going to make the tournament. Oh, they're going to need to win the conference tournament. They did it last year. That's great. That was exciting. That was thrilling. If they'd beaten Creighton, they'd probably get to the Elite Eight. I don't know if they get past there, but they're looking to put no doubt. As fun as those magical runs are, they tend to come to an end. Last 2 times that Oregon's won the conference championship, the tournament, that is, to get the automatic berth when they weren't going to get an at-large, they got to the round of 32 last year, and then with Peyton Pritchard, they got to the Sweet 16, lost to the eventual national champion, Virginia. But when Dana Altman went to the Elite Eight, when Dana Altman went to the Final Four, they were a 1 seed and a 2 seed. 1 seed and a 3 seed. Sorry, 1 seed and a 3 seed. So That tends to be the form. Like for all the Cinderella talk in March, it's great. It's awesome. I love it. It's wonderful. You can have double-digit seeds get to the Final Four like NC State last year. Phenomenal. That's why it's the best sporting event on planet Earth. Tournament is still overwhelmingly dominated by the higher seeds. And Oregon is playing like a team that's going to be in that discussion come March. But they got to sustain it. You're going to get into Big Ten play. It's going to get harder. You're going to lose eventually. How are you going to respond to that? Those are the questions to answer. But right now, this team is playing really good basketball at both ends of the floor. And the football team also playing great complementary ball. It's just a good time to be a Duck fan. There's no other way to put it. Appreciate you listening. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.